Hello and welcome to Mums Mimosas 2021. This year's luncheon may look a little different, but we're honored to have you joining us for this impactful event. In years past, we have gathered to celebrate the work Good Sam does for all of our vulnerable neighbors. This year, the mission remains the same and could be even more important.
Good morning, everyone. Every year, Mums Mimosas is a special time, as many of you know. And today, it's even more so as we come together across the city, across the state of Texas, and even across the nation to celebrate the mothers, the women in our lives. We honor them today. And I also want to thank all of you very sincerely for joining us to continue the legacy of Mums and Mimosas. It's important.
Mums and Mimosas continues to have a huge impact every year, raising over $1 million since our first luncheon to provide programs for children, youth, families, and seniors in our community.
So whether this is your first Mums and Mimosas or your 12th, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. Enjoy.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us for the 12th annual and first ever virtual Mums and Mimosas Luncheon. We are your co-chairs, Nicole Johnson and Whitney Orman, and we are very excited about the program we have for you today.
We are so glad that you've tuned in with us today. First, we'd like to take a moment and thank our presenting sponsors, the Donnell family and the Mays Family Foundation. Thank you both for your continued support of Good Sam and for making today's event possible. Now I'd like to introduce Sarah Cates, a dear friend and Director of Children, Youth, and Family Ministries at St. David's Episcopal Church, to open today's program with a word of prayer.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we give you thanks for this day. We thank you for your Son Jesus, who taught us to serve and love one another. We give you thanks for the Good Samaritan Community Services and ask that you pour out your blessing on all the people who are involved. Those seeking refuge, those who come to learn, those who volunteer, and all who lead them. We pray especially for all the mothers who are a part of the Good Sam community and all the mothers who are with us today. Fill them with your perfect peace and give them strength to persevere. Lord, bless this event. Help us to all grow a little closer to our fellow humans and learn more about what it means to love our neighbor. We are so grateful for those who helped make this event possible. May Good Sam continue to be a beacon of light for so many in San Antonio. Amen.
Thank you, Sarah. We really wish we could all be in the same room together enjoying a mimosa, good food, fellowship, and fun. But even though we can't, we are not going to let that stop us from raising money and supporting Good Samaritan.
That's right, Whitney. For 69 years, Good Sam has empowered our neighbors to thrive through programs that meet immediate needs and prepare for future success. Serving children, youth, families, and senior citizens, Good Sam supports our neighbors by working with them to develop the tools, resources, and skills they need to strengthen their families and our entire community. From college advising for high school students to health and wellness activities for senior citizens, to parent education classes and early Head Start and preschool programs for children, your support today makes a profound and lasting difference in the lives of thousands.
That's right. Right now, we'd like to share with you a short video highlighting some of the stories of families, young children, and youth that are impacted through the funds raised by Mums Mimosas.
Good Sam began as a ministry of St. Mark's Episcopal Church about 70 years ago. Bishop Everett Jones had a vision, and that is we need to place our staff someplace where we're most needed. And they chose the west side of San Antonio. And why did they choose this place? This area was known as the Death Triangle because of the high infant mortality rate. And they said, we need to be here. This is where we're most needed. So 70 years ago, this building was built, our very first one, and we expanded ever since then. And I think what sets us apart are a few things. One is there's always been a focus, obviously, on service, but on educating and increasing access to education. We had a preschool here from our very first years. We provided services on the healthcare side, immunizing people. We've adapted, we've changed because we listen to what residents say they need. So our history is one of just being there for whatever is needed.
Well, I started Good Sam the summer before 7th grade year, so I've been here since I was like 12. Now I am a lead asset builder. So what I do is I use the 40 developmental assets to provide a curriculum that will help our youth become successful, not only when they're adults, but in their everyday lives too. I come from a single parent family, so my mom actually needed some place to put us in the summer. So her friend actually recommended Good Sam to us. At first, I took Good Sam as like a daycare because she didn't really explain it. She was just like, they'll just watch your kids. And I was like, okay. So I thought it was like a daycare, so I wasn't excited to come. But when I came, that's when I started seeing, like, well, being around the staff made me realize how much they actually do for us and how much they care for like your well-being and your success.
I used to hang out with bad people like when I was little, and we would just go around the neighborhood and like just like mess around with people, and I didn't like that. So when I came to Good Sam, a staff member named Marcus, he helped me how to like not be like that type of kid.
When we come to the after school program, they're here, and like if we need help with homework or anything, they pull us out and they can help us out, or they just help us apply for scholarships or like help us look ahead in our future.
You know, Good Sam has been referred to as an anchor by many different people, and that has become more real this past year than ever before. Yes, being an anchor means we're situated, we're set, we've been here for a long time, but it's much more than that. What it also means is that people can rely on us.
My two youngest girls, they came to the early Head Start classrooms here. The teachers were amazing. Marvin and Miss Nadia did amazing work with my 5-year-old because she had attachment issues, and so they worked really well with her. And then my oldest, she's only been here for a little bit, but they have done amazing work with her. They have helped her with her self-confidence because she has really low self-esteem, and I know she's seeing a case management person here, and they've helped her overcome a lot. And so that kind of makes me tear up a little because it's just like she started off really rough, and now she's like, she doesn't care what other people think of her anymore, especially about her weight. And they just help her all the time, you know, every day that she comes, like she doesn't want to leave sometimes.
I think that's what's unique about Good Sam, that we try not only push them to do good in school, but we provide like support, emotional support, we provide educational support.
In terms of working with a family unit, why is that important? If you look at our programs as foundational, you begin with the child, and the child has guardians, parents, siblings. If you can build a foundation for that child around the family, then we know we can stabilize the family. So how do we do that? We provide programs through an early Head Start program, through preschool. We provide parent engagement. And our purpose there is to really work with the family to strengthen the tools they already know that they have, and say, you know what, here's some additional resources, some additional things that we can work with you on so that you can do even better when working with your child or with the adults in the family. So we do it through many different programs to support them in any way that they need.
One program that stands out the most to me here at Good Sam is the Parents as Teachers, the PAT program. They have done amazing work with my family. Recently, they put me in a program where they helped me fix my vehicle for free, and it was like they've done amazing work with my family. Like I don't know how grateful I am for them, because they've been there since I enrolled in the program.
The Mums Mimosas event that we have every year is a highlight. It begins our year in February. It's a lot of time and effort on the part of volunteers, and that's the beautiful thing about it. When you look at the work that Good Sam does, yes, we have staff and we have support and we have contracts that support us, but it's volunteers who make a big difference in terms of getting us over the line. And what does getting us over the line mean? It's the love and attention and care that people place on making sure that the work that we do is highlighted because of the people that are volunteering, and they know that the work that we do is supporting many other moms and kids and parents. And so it's very important when you have people that don't live in this community who are taking the time out and to spend to serve people here. That speaks volumes of the love and affection and care. I think it speaks volumes about San Antonio, but it speaks volumes about communities caring for each other. If we had more of that across the city and across this world, we would all be a better place. So because of that work, Good Samaritan is a better place.
This year, we are excited to offer a new way to support Good Sam. When making a donation this year, you can choose to empower a Good Sam neighbor. If you choose to empower a neighbor on the donation page of our event website, you will receive an email with a special story about a member of our Good Sam community, just like those you met in the video. So you can read in their words the impact of your support.
That's right, and we're making it easier than ever to donate this year. You can visit mums.givesmart.com, which is the website you're using to view today's program right now. Text MUMS, M-U-M-S, to 76278. You can scan the QR code in your program that was included with your brunch bag, or you can fill out one of those pledge cards that was also included in your bag and mail it with your check to Good Sam. You can also simply text the word GIVE followed by a number to 76278 to donate a dollar amount right now. Your support truly makes a difference in thousands of lives served by Good Sam.
Speaking of making a difference, we'd like to thank a few more of our sponsors for their support of this event. Thank you again to our presenting sponsors, the Donnell family and the Mays Family Foundation.
And also to Camilla Parker, Molly Zachary, and Ann Rochelle.
Valero Energy Foundation, Cavener Auto Family, Farm Bureau Brank, the Fike Family Foundation, Nancy Gallagher, New Star Energy, Silver Eagle Beverages, Texas Capital Bank, and University Health.
Broadway Bank, Meredith Brewer, the Episcopal Diocese of West Texas, Frost, Guido Materials, the John L. Santikos Charitable Foundation, Labatt Food Service, St. Mark's Episcopal Church, Texas Dermatology, Texas Medical Legal Consultants, and Jill H. Vassar.
We'd also like to thank our in-kind donors for their generous support of Mums Mimosas. Cookie Cab, Kelly Way Jewelers, Neiman Marcus, Paloma Blanca Mexican Cuisine, Polka Dot Parties, Rebel, Shetler Fine Jewelers, the St. Anthony Hotel, Texas Dermatology, Total Wine, and a special thank you to the wine group for the champagne that was included with your brunch. The in-kind donation made possible some fabulous raffle package. If you haven't had a chance to purchase tickets, you can still do that through the Give Smart website or by texting Mums to 76278. Let's take a look at those packages.
Let's do it. I'm
Awesome.
excited. Okay, package number 1 is a staycation with not 1 but 2 nights at the St. Anthony Hotel. It includes a gift card to Rebel for dinner and complimentary valet parking. You can also have dessert delivered to the hotel from Cookie Cab.
Next is a beautiful St. Laurent tote from Neiman Marcus. This Italian-made black leather bag, as you can see on your screen, is gorgeous and is valued at $2,500.
That's right. Next up, who doesn't love great Mexican food? You can enjoy a private party or catered event with amazing food from Paloma Blanca with this gift certificate valued at $1,000.
With package number 4, you can treat your friends, family, and fellow wine lovers to a private 2-hour wine tasting for up to 20 people at Total Wine & More. And you'll be the talk of the tasting after treating yourself with a shopping trip to Kelly Way Jewelers with a $1,000 gift card.
Okay, if you win the wine package, are you going to invite me?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, package number 5 also has bubbles and bling. This package includes 6 bottles of Vouv and a $750 gift card to Shetler Fine Jewelers.
And last but certainly not least, package 6 is a bundle from Texas Dermatology. It includes a cosmetic consultation for either the Forever Young Broadband Light Skin Treatment or RF Microneedling Treatment, as well as an underarm mirror dry treatment. The value of this package is just under $2,800. Wow.
Okay, so make sure you have purchased your raffle tickets. If you have not done that already, again, you can do that on the Give Smart event website, or you can text Mums to 76278. You can also call the staff at Good Sam at 210-434-5531, extension 2008, and they will be happy to help you with that as well.
And you can purchase raffle tickets through the end of the week. Sales will close at midnight this Sunday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. And then make sure you're following us on Instagram. Winners will be announced on the Mums Mimosas Instagram account on Monday morning, the 15th.
That's right.
All right. Are we ready to have some fun?
We are.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
If you have not poured yourself a mimosa yet, now is the time. Nicole.
Sweet.
Okay. Let's see. We are ready to have some fun and raise some money for Good Sam.
Yes, you can continue donating throughout today's program and for the remainder of the week. But now it is our honor to introduce and welcome Melanie Schenkel. Melanie is the New York Times best-selling author of Sparkly Green Earrings, The Antelope in the Living Room, the Nobody's Cuter Than You, and Church of the Small Things. In addition to writing, Melanie speaks at events nationwide and writes on her blog, Big Mama. She is a 1993 graduate of Texas A&M University and lives here in San Antonio with her husband, Perry, and daughter, Caroline. In her spare time, she enjoys online shopping, laughing at things that are often inappropriate, and spending time with her family and friends. Her newest book, On the Bright Side, was released in February of 2020, along with her first children's picture book entitled Piper and Mabel, Two Very Wild But Very Good Dogs. That is a personal favorite at our house. Please welcome Melanie Schenkel.
Cheers.
Cheers, ladies. I am so happy to be with y'all this year for the 2021 Mums and Mimosas. I'm going to have a sip real quick. You do the same. I know this is a little different this year, but it fits right into what I'm going to talk to you about today, which is when life does not turn out like we planned. Several years ago, some dear friends of mine, Pat and Leslie, were moving from San Antonio to Bernie, and they spent time building their dream house. They moved into an apartment with their 3 kids while they built their house in Bernie, and they planned everything to a T. Every light switch, every outlet, every piece of furniture. Leslie is a phenomenal decorator, and so she poured her heart and soul into this house. And so finally, after a year of living in an apartment with their 3 small children, the day had come and they moved into their house. Everything was perfect. They spent like the next 2 weeks, you know how that is, like getting everything together and planning and decorating and unpacking boxes and get everything done. And they finally, like 2 weeks in, it was like, okay, it's done. Like, we're here, we did it, we're in our dream house. They sat on the couch They poured a glass of wine. They turned on a Spurs game. The kids were all asleep, otherwise known as the best time of the day. And they cheersed, cheers, we did it, we did it. And just about that time, they hear this roar, and a dirty, wet, smelly cat jumps into their lap, knocks over their wine, and goes running through the house. Here's why this is problematic. Number one, they don't own a cat. Number two, they weren't sure where the cat had come from. Number three, and because if you're a mom of young kids, the cat was headed towards the kids' bedrooms. So they immediately go into this defense mode of get a broom, open the doors, figure out the cat is leaving dirty, wet, smelly footprints everywhere it goes. It's in their 3-year-old's room. It's in the closet. They're trying to shoo the cat out of the house. They can't figure out what's going on. They finally get the cat. The cat doesn't wake up the kids, and they sit there for a minute and go, what just happened? What just happened? Where did that cat come from? So I'm going to go ahead and tell you because I know you're dying to know. Apparently they had a fridge in a mudroom off of the garage, and the best they could figure out is when Leslie earlier that day had been loading drinks into that drink fridge from the store, I guess a cat had decided to jump in the fridge because it was summertime in Texas, so maybe he wanted to cool off, I don't know. Jumped in the fridge, and her 3-year-old closed the fridge door on the cat. So the cat used all of his 9 lives. He escaped from the fridge. That was. They've never seen the cat since. But what that story makes me think of is basically the last year of our lives. Because sometimes a wet, dirty, smelly cat jumps into our lap just when we think we have everything all figured out. And that to me is a funny story of the way that looks, but there are so many other ways that looks in our lives. One of my dearest friends, Jen, got diagnosed with breast cancer and passed away 4 years ago. One of my best friends' dads was hit by a car on an early morning walk, and their lives were never the same. Closer to home, my daughter Caroline, her sophomore year was filled with mean girls and drama and just all this stuff that you don't plan for. And like I said, for all of us, the thing that we have in common, if we look at the last year of our lives, this does not look like what we planned. I mean, if anybody had told us even 18 months ago, you're going to be wearing a mask everywhere you go, and your kids are going to be homeschooled, and you're going to have to, asymptomatic people are no longer called healthy people. It's just a weird world that none of us planned for. And the thing is even if you think you're not somebody who likes control, we all do. We like a plan. We like to know where we're going. We like to know what this is going to look like. We like to know that A is going to get us to B. And that's why there's such a job as a life coach, because we like to have goals. We like to set goals. And the thing is even if you're like me, and I'm not a huge planner and I don't have a formal life plan, but I still have this idea in my head, this imagined future. We think we're going to have a family, we're going to have kids, we're going to get a college degree, we're going to start a business, we're going to travel to Europe, we're going to take vacations. We want to attain this certain level of comfort and stability. We want our lives to mean something. We don't want to waste our lives. And the thing is plans are good, because without plans, little of enduring value gets accomplished. I always say those who fail to plan, I think, find ourselves just binge watching Netflix. Ask me how I know. But the reality is there have been so many times when I look back over my life when God has intentionally messed up my life plan. And it turns out that when you look back, you go, you know what, that was really a good thing. Because in 8th grade, my life plan was I wanted to marry George Michael from Wham. And that would have been problematic for a lot of reasons. So it's good that didn't work out the way that I planned. But the thing about life is it's our willingness to go through open doors and to embrace change and challenges that we didn't expect or ever feel prepared for that turn our lives into a great adventure. And here's the deal, you only get one shot, because none of us get out of this alive. And here's what I can guarantee you is that God has a plan and a purpose for your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. I always think about from the Chronicles of Narnia years ago, Caroline, my daughter, she's a senior now, so y'all can pray for me because I'm about to be an empty nester, and I'm trying not to think about it too much. But when we read through The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, there's this great scene where the Pevensey children are a little bit today at the life of Joseph from the Bible. Joseph was his father's favorite. You may have heard of him because Dolly Parton sang a song about him called The Coat of Many Colors. His dad made him this great coat. And then Joseph had dreams, which made his brothers hate him even more than they already did because he got the fancy coat and they didn't. They threw him into a pit. They had him sold into slavery at the age of 17. But the Bible says that God was with him, and even though it took 20 years, he rose to the second highest position in all of Egypt, and he ended up saving the very brothers who had left him to die from famine and starvation. That probably was not what Joseph had planned. Your life is not going to go the way you plan. A few things that we can take from the story of Joseph. Number one, we begin with a dream. Joseph's story begins with a dream he had where he saw sheaves of wheat that represented his brothers, and they bowed down to him. And then he had a dream where the stars were his brothers, and they bowed down to him. Now, here's a tip. If you have dreams where your siblings are bowing down to you, you probably don't want to share that at the dinner table. That's not going to go well for you. If they already don't like you, you don't want to be like, hey, guess what? Guess who's going to be bowing down to me? Your little brother in my fancy coat. So needless to say, his brothers did not receive this very well. And I think that's how dreams are sometimes, is we can have a dream in our heart, we can have an idea, we can have something that God has put there. And if we say it out loud, people are going to look at us like, you're crazy. Like, that's nuts. That's never going to work out. But when we look at a couple of famous dreamers, J.K. Rowling, who wrote Harry Potter, maybe you've heard of her, she was a single mom on welfare when she wrote the books Harry Potter. Steven Spielberg was rejected multiple times by the USC School of Cinematic Arts. Thomas Edison was told by teachers that he was too stupid to learn anything. And Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination and told he had no good ideas. How dumb does that person feel? And so what happens is people reject our dreams, and then so many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. I'll major in business, I'll get a sensible job, I'll keep dating this person because it's less risky than finding someone new, because we don't like change. We like to stick to a plan because that feels less scary. But I believe that God puts dreams in our hearts that are there for a reason. J.K. Rowling has said that she heard a voice that told her the name Harry Potter would be known by children everywhere if she just stuck with it. Guess what? That voice was right. Steven Spielberg envisioned a movie with a large man-eating shark. Walt Disney had a vision of a mouse with a big personality who wore pants. That turned out really well for him. Ellen DeGeneres, she was living in a flea-ridden apartment and wrote her first monologue, but she envisioned herself being on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and eventually that came true. It's when you believe that and you process it, no matter what is happening, it changes your life, because none of those people knew how their leap of faith was going to turn out. We never know. But when we realize that failure is inevitable, you're going to fail. Whether you're doing what you want or not, you might as well take a stab at doing the thing that you love. You might as well go with the dream. Norman Vincent Peale says, shoot for the moon, because even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. Turn my page here. And here's the thing, most of the time, it's our failures that teach us the most and set us free. Hitting rock bottom, to me, can become the solid foundation for us to rebuild, because it's impossible to live without failing at something unless you live so carefully that you might as well have done nothing at all. And to me, that becomes the biggest failure. If you just live safe, then you miss the joy, you miss the adventure. And the thing is all those failures teach us things that we may never learn in another way. It shows us who our friends are, it shows us who we are. You'll never know yourself until you're tested by adversity. And your life will be determined by what you do after you fail, after things don't turn out like you planned. Do you give up? Do you keep trying? Will you embrace it and learn from it, or let it become an excuse for not living up to who you can be? You are going to make mistakes. That's how you learn. A few years ago, my husband and I had a dinner conversation with our daughter Caroline, because, you know, when you're the parent of a teen, you're also a coach a lot of times, whether you want to be or not. And she's a soccer player. And one of the things is we were watching her, and she was starting to play so hesitant on the field. We could see her like thinking through, and we were like, just get out there and do it. And she's like, but I'm afraid of messing up. And so my husband told her something that I thought was so wise, and it goes into like how all of us should live. And he's like, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go out there and I want you to fail spectacularly. He's like, just go for the gold, because I would rather see you try and fail than to see you play timid. I would rather see you go for the big thing. And you know what? Sometimes you're going to mess up, but just do it. Because you're going to regret. The thing you regret is not doing your best. The thing you regret is not trying hard enough. We need to pursue our dreams no matter the critics or the adversity we face. I love the quote from Teddy Roosevelt that said, "It's not the critic who counts. It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again, because there's no effort without error and shortcoming." This is a time that has tested all of us and made us all dig deep to be homeschoolers when we didn't want to be homeschoolers, and figure out how to make 3 meals a day when we're used to those kids at least getting one at the cafeteria at school. We're all having to learn and do new things, how to do Zoom presentations. God, I hope I never have to do another Zoom presentation after this year is over. But it's just a time that tests us and tries us, and what are we going to do with it? Are we going to keep chasing the dream? The second thing that we can learn from Joseph is to trust God, not our circumstances. When tough times come, you've got to trust in what you believe and not in what you see. Because the thing is sometimes what we see looks really dismal. When you look at this past year, it looks dark, it looks hopeless, but I don't believe in that. I believe that there are still great things ahead. I believe that there's joy to be found. Joseph was sold into slavery. He spent almost 20 years in prison. He was left alone and abandoned, but he continued to trust in God. Over and over again, as we read his story, these are the phrases we see. The Lord was with him and he was successful. His master saw the Lord was with him. The Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. The blessing of the Lord was on all he had. And we can look at that and be like, yeah, he was in prison. But God had a plan that went above his current circumstances. God has a plan for us right now that goes above our current circumstances. This is just the testing ground. This is just a place for us to learn and for us to stumble. And I really do believe, even at the end of 2020 and having survived and being into 2021, which, I'm going to be honest, doesn't look a whole lot better right at this moment. But the thing is, there's always a bright side when we look for it. Years ago, there were all those wildfires that ran through Texas, and y'all may remember, just everything burned. And one of my favorite places to drive through, because I go to College Station a lot because I'm an Aggie, from San Antonio is Bastrop. And Bastrop used to have all those gorgeous pine trees that grew up on either side of the road. And I loved going through it because it was just like this sanctuary feeling of driving through all these pine trees. And all of that burned. And so for the next several years as I drove through, I would look, and it was so just depressing because it just seemed so dark and it was charred and everything else. But what I've noticed over the last couple of years as I've driven it is all of a sudden everything's growing back. There's all this new bright green growth. And I think sometimes we look at a fire, we look at the fires in our life and we think this is so destructive, it just burned it all down. But the thing is not all fires disrupt our life, but sometimes it clears the path for new growth. Sometimes it's getting rid of the old, it's burning down the old so that the new can come. And that's a really necessary part of life, because as humans, if you're like me, I don't like change. I like to know that this is going to be this and this is how it's going to look. And sometimes I think something has to come in and go, the only way things are going to be new is if we get rid of all this old. We got to walk away from the old. The third thing is to walk through life with integrity and humility, because character, like your mom used to tell you, is who you are when no one is looking. The key to living a successful life is never compromising your integrity and never letting your pride get in the way. You look at Joseph, and he'd had a chance to sleep with Potiphar's wife, but he risked everything to do the right thing. He didn't get ahead that way. He knew that was the wrong thing, and it cost him everything. He ended up back in prison. And living with integrity won't always be the easiest road, but it will lead you to where God wants to take you. Don't sacrifice who you are and what you believe for short-term gain, because there's no job, there's no relationship or goal worth losing who you are, because somewhere there's an opportunity that's waiting for the real you, the you that only you can be. And on a similar note, walk in humility. The people who live the best lives are the ones who aren't afraid to admit when they're wrong, to do a job that they feel is beneath them, or to work hard even when they're on a path that they didn't envision. And the fourth thing is to pursue true success and prosperity. I feel like the world tells us that true success is to have a certain number in our bank account, a certain number of cars in our driveway, maybe that lots of people know our name, maybe that we have a lot of followers on Instagram and a blue check mark. But true success and prosperity comes to me when you are right where God wants you to be, doing exactly what you were called to do. The world, I feel like, as women, tells us that we have to have it all, we have to do it all, we have to achieve it all. We all have to look fabulous. We have to be a size 4. We have to raise kids who are fluent in multiple languages and in all GT classes. Our houses have to be straight out of Pinterest. I mean, let's be honest, we didn't even know there was a decorating style called Vintage Industrial Train Station until Pinterest came along. Our dinners need to be clean and healthy and organic. Our Instagram accounts have to be beautifully filtered. Every single moment of our kids' lives has to be documented, or they're going to end up in therapy wondering why they don't have an Instagram book like their friend does. We are a generation of women who have never worked harder to have it all, and to me gone to bed at night worrying that we're not enough and we're not doing enough and we're not good enough, and that is a lie. Being discontent and feeling that we aren't enough is a universal problem. It's something that we all struggle with, and it doesn't matter if you're single, if you're married, if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're old, if you're in college or out of college, we all struggle with this. And the thing is there are going to be times in life that none of it looks like how we planned. Nothing looks the way we thought it would. Nothing is going the way we wanted it to, but that doesn't mean that God isn't working it out for our good. It's the character building, and it's seeing the whole picture of who we are and where we're going and what we were created to be. And I love that at the end of Joseph's story, after everything he's been through, the imprisonment, being forgotten in prison, being falsely accused, after he saved the land from famine, we see his brothers, the very brothers who had sold him into slavery and thrown him into a pit. And they throw themselves down before him because they know that he now has the power to destroy them. And they say, "We are your slaves." But Joseph says to them, "Don't be afraid. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." That is a man who has found true success. He recognized that he had fulfilled the purpose that God had for his life, even though it didn't look the way he thought it would. This year, one of the verses that I've read in the Bible is from Psalm 46, and it says, "Be still and know that I am God." Because let's be honest, we've had a lot of time of being still this year, whether we've wanted to or not. And I thought it was so interesting because I looked one day, in the original Hebrew, a "be still" doesn't mean be quiet, which is what I always thought, like be quiet. But what it means is let go. And that's very different. Let go and know that I am God. Let go of trying to control everything. Let go of worry. Let go of unforgiveness. Let go of your past. Let go of what you can't control. And trust that God is in control, because his silence doesn't mean he isn't working. I mentioned earlier my dear friend Jen, and I've talked about her a lot, and I've written about her a lot. She was one of my college roommates. She was one of my very dearest friends in the world. And it's been about 6 or 7 years ago now that she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And at the time, she had a 7-month-old baby. She was the last of my friends to get married. She had a baby unexpectedly late in life. I say late in life, she was 40, but kind of old for your first baby. And she had this precious little boy. She had gotten married. We were so happy for her. And she found a lump. And that led to a year of chemotherapy and surgery. It ultimately led to her going back to the doctor, where they said the cancer has spread. It's everywhere. You have 12 months to 2 years to live. That was not what she had planned. That's not what any of us had planned. We ended up losing her about a year and a half after that final diagnosis, and she left behind her 5-year-old little boy at the time. And it was heartbreaking. But when we watched Jen walk through that, who I do have to say, she was the loudest person. Somebody watching this knows her, because everybody knew her because she was so loud. She never met a stranger. But her faith was so strong, and it was so powerful. And one of the things she wrote, she kept up a blog while she was sick. And one of the things that she wrote towards the end, this was about 2 weeks before she passed away, she said, she talked about the Israelites and about when Moses parted the Red Sea. And she said, "I couldn't imagine how the Israelites ran headlong toward the sea, not knowing if it would open, but yet trusting the Lord to deliver them. I thought about how if the sea had parted 200 yards before they arrived, it wouldn't require the same faith. And I thought of how I feel like people give me too much credit for joy and peace and grace in this season, but that it's truly Him that has opened the seas and provided a smooth path in the face of death. And I've seen Him provide supernatural peace and grace, and until I was willing to step all the way up to the water's edge, I couldn't experience the joy that completely overwhelms me." She wrote that 2 weeks before she died. She knew she was leaving behind her husband. She knew she was leaving behind her little boy, but it was incredible thing to see. And almost my friends and I, we would kind of get together after we'd seen her in the hospital. We'd be like, is she really this peaceful? Like, is she really okay? And she really was. It's real. It was a true joy and a peace of the path that she was about to walk that she wouldn't have planned for and she wouldn't have asked for, but that God still gave her peace in that. And I think it's so interesting because none of us, when we look at these hard times in life, want to walk right up to the water's edge of the painful seasons in our life. Without knowing if God is going to part the seas, we start to walk and we're like, what is this going to look like? How is this going to look? How is this going to work out for my kids? There's all these things. I mean, you know, I have a senior in high school this year and I'm like, this is a weird time to go out into the world and start college and all of this. What's going to happen? Because we prefer to know what's happening. We want to know where we're going. We want to know that's going to be okay. We want guarantees. We basically want a money-back guarantee, and life doesn't offer a money-back guarantee. But you know what I love about the story of the Israelites walking through the Red Sea? It's in Exodus 15, right after they had crossed through the Red Sea to dry land against all natural human odds. It says, for when the horses of Pharaoh with his chariots and his horsemen went into the sea, the Lord brought back the waters of the sea upon them. But the people of Israel walked on dry ground in the midst of the sea. Then Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women went out after her with tambourines and dancing. So think about what this means. Moses and the people of Israel had fled from Egypt. They were being pursued by the greatest, scariest, biggest army in the world at that time. They had no idea where they were going. They had no idea how they were going to make it to the other side. They were probably thinking, and as it says, we should have just stayed. We should have just stayed in slavery. I can't even imagine their fear and panic, and they were surely about to die at the hands of Pharaoh's army. They were living an absolute nightmare. But then you read that God delivers them to the other side, and Miriam and the women get out their tambourines and begin to dance. Think about what that means. It means that in the midst of what had to be the scariest time of their lives, the biggest time of uncertainty, leaving behind all they had ever known, everything they were facing, they took the time to pack their tambourines. That's the kind of thing that you and your husband would get in a fight over on vacation. If you were like, hold on, I got to get my tambourine. Because yes, they were afraid, and no, this wasn't their plan, but they trusted God, so they packed their tambourines because even in the midst of this, they believed that a day would come when they would dance and rejoice again. And here's what I know. There may have already been a time that you've faced a loss or a hurt so great that your heart is never going to be the same. Life can bring some hurts that won't fully heal or ever make sense, but that doesn't mean that you can't use it in your life to grow yourself, to build the other people around you, and that a day will come when you will trust God enough to play your tambourine again. Isaiah 42:16 says, I will lead the blind by ways they have not known. Along unfamiliar paths I will guide them. I will turn the darkness into light before them and make the rough places smooth. So as we walk this unfamiliar path right now that we are all walking together, which is historic because I don't know that there's never been another time where we've all walked through something together this way. Trust Him to guide you when it feels dark and to make the rough places smooth. Fill your life with action. Chase your dreams. Walk through this open door with your arms wide open. Take a risk. Do the thing that seems scary. Don't wait for things to happen, but make your own future. Chart your own course. Don't let the smelly wet cat steal your joy. And when you're ready, play your tambourine because we live in a world that desperately needs your music.
Wow, what a speech.
Yeah, so good. So good.
Timely
Thank
for
you,
2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Thank you, Melanie. We are so honored to have you join us this year. Before we go, just a reminder that you can continue to purchase raffle tickets, make donations, and empower a Good Sam neighbor throughout the week.
Thank you again to our presenting sponsors, the Donnell family and the Mays Family Foundation. And thank you to Camilla Parker, Molly Zachary, and Anne Rochelle, Valero Energy Foundation, and the Cavender Auto family for their continued support of Mums and Mimosas.
Also, a special thank you to the Mums Mimosas Committee. We could not have done it without y'all. The Good Sam Board of Directors and CEO, Simone Salas, and the Good Sam staff for their hard work and support and encouragement throughout the planning process for this virtual event.
And thank you for joining us today for helping us raise money to support the important mission of Good Samaritan.
And one last thing, just a reminder that donations of all sizes will impact families in your community for generations.
That's right.
Raffle tickets will be available throughout the remainder of the week with packages found on the left-hand side of your screen.
That's right. Every dollar makes an impact, so donate this week and help us reach our goal. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you in person for Mums Mimosas 2022.
Thank you, and have a great day.